Hello, my name is Mikhail, and this is my guide on how to improve your productivity while programming. Well, most of you probably use either Windows or macOS, and only some of you use Linux, but regardless of this fact, you're probably using a stack and window manager. Here you can see market shares for different operating systems. And just as a side note, I will be referring to stack to window manager as VM throughout this talk, just for the sake of time. So a stack window manager is a sort of window manager that draws the windows in specific order, which allows them to stack on each other, and that makes for really clumsy and just cluttered looking layouts. Here I have an example of a stacking layout. So as you can see, there's so much free space left unused, and you can't see most of the windows because they overlap each other. Here I have an even worse example of a stacking layout. As you can see, just becomes some hell of windows, and you will probably spend most of your time rather than doing actual work. You will spend it just looking for a window you need. And my solution to that are talent window managers. And what are those, you may ask yourself? A talent window manager, contrary to a stacking, he draws windows in a sort of way which doesn't allow them to stack on each other, and the space is shared equally between windows. So here's an example of a tiling layout. As you can see, every window is clear and visible. There's very little free space left, and you can easily move between windows, and you can easily find the window you're looking for very fast. And this allows for very fast workflow. And if you want a real life example, here's an example of my workflow while writing the script for this talk. As you can see, to the left I got I got Vim for writing the text. I got to the top left corner I got a live preview of the markdown I'm writing, and to the right I got a browser just for digging up some research on the topic or maybe for looking up some imagery. So the main benefits of Talon VMs, that they're clean looking. Well, if you compare them to the stacking, there is pretty much nothing free space left, and it just looks more clean because the windows don't overlap each other. The second benefit is that there is way less clutter, well, and it's way easier to work in, and that every window is visible and space is equally shared between windows, because all windows have pretty much equal space. And I think the main benefits for touch types is that it's keyboard-oriented mappings, because just if I let's say if I want to switch from Vim to browser, I just hit Alt plus L, or if I want to switch from the browser back to, for example, Vim, I need to press Alt plus H, and I don't have to constantly move my hand over to my mouse to switch to a different window. And it just becomes way easier, and I think it also has some health benefits, because you don't always move your hand and you don't strain your wrist. So it's not only much easier and much more convenient, and not only saves your time, but it saves your health, and I think that's the most obvious and important benefit. Well, now you may ask yourself, how do I get into all of this? Well, first of all, you need a Unix system, preferably some Linux distribution. What comes from my opinion, I have used two Linux distros in the past. One was Ubuntu, and I think it just has too much stuff built in it by default, and it's just way too bloated, and there's just way too stuff, and it's just way too heavy and just non-efficient. And there is Arch Linux, which is the complete opposite of Ubuntu, and it has pretty much nothing built in it at all by default. And in fact, when you load up Arch Linux, you have just an empty command prompt. Well, you can also install Italian VM on macOS, but I think it's much harder, and there are way less options. And the perfect user for the beginner is Manjaro. It's much more user friendly. It has all of the benefits of Arch Linux because it's built on top of Arch Linux, and it's much more user friendly and much more easier to get going with. So to install Manjaro, you need to head over to Manjaro's website, then choose Architect Edition, and while installing, you need to choose i3 as your preferred window manager. So of course, there are many window managers. There are some very advanced ones. While I think i3 is the easiest one for a beginner because he has pretty good documentation. It's very popular. I think in fact it's the most popular window manager of all, and it's very easy to get started with because you can write its config in plain text. So it's very easy. So it's very easy to configure it down and tailor it down to your personal needs. So Manjaro comes with i3 already configured to bit, so it's easier for a non-experienced user. Here is default Manjaro's i3 look and feel. So you may agree with it looks very nice and uncluttered, and it's already better than any stacking window manager. And just with Manjaro i3 edition, you can from the very start you can tweak pretty much nothing and jump straight to work, and you will already feel the benefits. And with the default i3 config, it looks somehow like that. It just looks terrible. You will have to spend, I don't know, like 5 hours configuring everything, tweaking everything to be able to get your work done. And with Manjaro, it's much easier. But the point of using Linux and telling VM is that you can configure everything down to your needs. So I highly advise you to go to your home directory /i3/config and start tinkering. Here are some examples of how your desktop can look after what is called rising. Because if you have been configuring your Talent VM for a bit, I think you have noticed the term rising, and this means just basically changing the visual appearance of your desktop while not necessarily making it behave differently. And there's a subreddit for looking for ICDs, and here are some examples. And here's an example of how it can look on your monitor. I think I think it will improve your workflow greatly because everything is so nice and clean and visible. Of course, Linux doesn't depend on just installing Italian window manager. There's much more stuff that you can do. You can customize your terminal. You can use a different shell like Fish. You can switch to Vim or to Linux as a primary text editor. You can learn touch type, and you can switch to a different keyboard layout like Dwork, Workman, and all of this will improve your speed greatly. And I think that just the process of tweaking everything and tailoring it down to your needs is as satisfying as the result. There is no doubt that my talk only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Unix customization, so I highly advise you to go on and to explore the Linux ecosystem and make a change for the better, because who knows, maybe you will improve your programming speed greatly, and you will have much more free time left. and I think nevertheless, well, even if you don't end up sticking with Linux and if you will switch back to macOS, to Windows, just the process itself of making something, of programming something, of making your personal configuration of Linux, just all the hardships that you will overcome on your way to the perfect configuration, just all those things alone will make you a better programmer. So go on and explore Linux. Thank you for your attention.